My name is Derek, and I am 67 years old. I used to live with my family in West Virginia. The memory of that fateful day at Lake Shawnee Amusement Park still haunts me, forever etched into the recesses of my mind. Once, when my younger sister, Lily, and I were mere children, we visited the famous carnival held every 4 years. Lily was just 5 years old, with her infectious laughter and an unquenchable thirst for adventure. I was 13, a budding protector and a guardian of my precious sibling. As we reveled in the carnival's electric atmosphere, our parents were engaged in animated conversations with our extended family from New Jersey. Lily and I, oblivious to our surroundings, were caught up in the whirlwind of laughter, screams, and the vibrant tapestry of sights, sounds, and smells that enveloped us. For hours we flitted from ride to ride, our spirits soaring high. The merry-go-round's enchanting melody, the towering Ferris wheel's majestic ascent, and the exhilarating plunge of the roller coaster filled us with a sense of awe and wonder. Time seemed to slip away as we reveled in the carnival's intoxicating allure. As dusk cast its ethereal glow over the horizon, people began to drift away, leaving the carnival less crowded and more subdued. It was then that a chilling realization washed over me: we had lost track of our parents. Panic surged through my veins as I frantically searched our surroundings, my heart pounding with a terrifying intensity. I instructed Lily to stay put on a secluded bench while I embarked on a desperate search for our parents. My mind raced, conjuring up all sorts of dreadful scenarios. I ran through the maze of attractions, my gaze darting from side to side, my voice hoarse with worry as I called out their names. Empty-handed and filled with a growing sense of dread, I returned to the spot where I had left Lily. A faint glimmer of hope flickered within me as I heard her cheerful laughter echoing through the desolate carnival grounds. Relief washed over me as I spotted her, standing beside a figure I had never seen before. A clown, painted with grotesque precision, stood before Lily, his manic grin and mismatched eyes sending shivers down my spine. He wore a garish costume adorned with garish colors, and his oversized shoes seemed to mock my anxious state. The clown, who called himself Witty, had a mischievous glint in his eyes, and his voice seemed to be laced with an unsettling undertone. For a brief moment, I relaxed, allowing myself to be momentarily distracted by the clown's antics. Lily seemed enthralled by his performance, and I couldn't help but chuckle at his absurd jokes and silly antics. However, a gnawing unease lingered within me, a feeling that something was amiss. As Witty concluded his act, I excused myself to buy some food for Lily and myself. The carnival's food stalls were mostly deserted, and I quickly purchased a bag of popcorn and 2 sodas. With a renewed sense of purpose, I made my way back to the spot where I had left my sister and the enigmatic clown. As I approached, my heart sank, and my blood ran cold. The bench where Lily had been sitting was now empty, save for a gruesome sight that made my stomach churn. Blood and torn flesh were splattered across the bench, and a chilling realization dawned upon me: Lily was gone. I stumbled backward, my body trembling with a primal fear. The carnival's once joyous atmosphere had transformed into a macabre nightmare. Adrenaline coursed through my veins as I frantically searched for any trace of my sister. I shouted her name, my voice echoing through the empty grounds, but there was no response. Driven by desperation, I stumbled through the labyrinthine paths of the carnival, my mind racing, trying to piece together the horrific events that had transpired. Had Witty harmed my sister? Was he responsible for this gruesome display? The thought of it sent shivers down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been too trusting, too careless. As I stumbled upon the abandoned carousel, I noticed a faint glimmer of something metallic beneath one of the seats. I bent down, my fingers trembling as I reached for it. It was a small, silver clown nose, identical to the one Witty had been wearing. A wave of nausea washed over me as a terrifying realization struck me: the clown had been here, and he had taken Lily. With newfound determination, I retraced my steps, following the faint trail of blood that seemed to lead away from the carnival grounds. I ran through the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest, my mind racing with dread and fear. The trail led me to the edge of the park, where a dilapidated shed stood shrouded in shadows. I approached cautiously, my every nerve on high alert. As I peered inside, a foul stench hit my nostrils, and I gagged at the gruesome sight that met my eyes. Lily's lifeless body lay contorted on the floor, her once bright eyes now vacant and staring. Her body was mutilated beyond recognition, and her clothes were torn and stained with blood. I collapsed to my knees, a gut-wrenching scream tearing from my throat. My baby sister, my precious Lily, was gone. In the depths of my despair, I noticed something clutched tightly in Lily's hand. It was a small, wooden puppet, the same one I had bought for her at the carnival earlier that day. A wave of anger and sorrow washed over me as I realized that Whitty had used her favorite toy to lure her to this horrific fate. I remained there for what felt like an eternity, cradling Lily's broken body in my arms, my tears mingling with her blood. Even after nearly 50 years, the memory of that fateful day at Lake Shawnee Amusement Park haunts me, forever etched into the recesses of my mind. The mutilated body of my sister doesn't let me sleep at night, and I often hear a voice, faint yet hauntingly clear, calling out,
"Derek, save me and don't let me die."
I grew up as the son of a clown. Not just any clown, but the most renowned and celebrated one in the country. My father, Ronald, possessed an uncanny ability to evoke laughter and joy wherever he went. His painted smile and outlandish antics brought countless children and adults alike to fits of merriments. From a tender age, I witnessed the magic my father created. I would accompany him to carnivals and fairs, where he would transform into his vibrant alter ego, bringing smiles to countless faces. However, behind the laughter and applause, a dark secret lurked, a secret that would forever alter the course of our lives. As my father's fame grew, so too did the pressure to deliver ever more sensational performances. In his pursuit of excellence, he began incorporating increasingly dangerous stunts into his routines. It was during one fateful performance that tragedy struck. A malfunctioning prop caused a catastrophic accident, resulting in the death of several young children. The incident sent shockwaves through the nation, casting a sinister pall over my father's profession. Overnight, the perception of clowns changed. From symbols of joy and amusement, they became harbingers of danger and terror. Carnival organizers, once eager to secure my father's services, now shied away from hiring clowns altogether. With the decline in demand, my father's earnings dwindled, plunging our family into financial hardship. The once celebrated clown now became an object of ridicule and scorn. People who had once adored him now spat upon his name, hurling insults and threats. The weight of their condemnation crushed my father's spirit, leaving him a broken and humiliated man. As the years passed, occasional opportunities arose for my father to perform. But these were few and far between, and the meager earnings barely kept us afloat. The constant humiliation and rejection took a severe toll on my father's mental health. He withdrew into himself, becoming a mere shadow of his former self. One grim evening, our family received a chilling phone call from a carnival organizer. He informed us that a clown had been brutally murdered during a performance. The gruesome details of the murder sent shivers down our spines. The clown's body had been mutilated beyond recognition, his face frozen in a grotesque and horrifying grin. As fear gripped our hearts, we realized that this was no ordinary crime. The killer bore a deep-seated hatred for clowns, and they were targeting my father as their ultimate prize. Panic surged through me as I frantically called the police. But before they could arrive, the phone rang again. This time, it was the killer themselves. Their voice was a twisted mockery of laughter, filled with malice and intent. They taunted me, reveling in the fear they had instilled in our hearts. As they hung up, a chilling message echoed through the receiver: "Your father is next." Frozen with terror, we barricaded ourselves inside our home. Every creak and groan sent shivers down our spines. Time seemed to slow down as we waited in agonizing anticipation for the inevitable. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by a thunderous crash. The front door had been kicked in, and through the shattered glass, we saw a figure striding toward us. Its face was contorted into a grotesque parody of a clown's smile, its eyes glinting with murderous intent. In a moment of desperation, I grabbed a nearby kitchen knife and lunged at the intruder. But my feeble attempt was met with a swift and brutal counterattack. The killer disarmed me with ease and pinned me to the ground. As its cold, lifeless eyes stared into mine, I knew that my time had come. But then, something unexpected happened. A piercing scream filled the air, and the killer's grip on me loosened. I looked up to see my father, his face painted in a grotesque parody of his former glory, lunging at the intruder with a butcher knife. The two clowns engaged in a gruesome and bloody battle. The kitchen became a scene of carnage, with blood splattering the walls and floor. I watched in horror as my father fought desperately to protect his family. Finally, with a mighty blow, my father plunged his knife into the killer's heart. The room fell deathly silent as the intruder's body collapsed to the ground. My father stood over it, his painted smile now a mask of triumph and relief. As the dust settled, we emerged from our hiding places, our bodies trembling with fear and relief. My father had saved us, but at a terrible cost. His once bright spirit had been extinguished, replaced by the darkness he had faced. In the aftermath of the attack, we left our home and went into hiding. My father never performed as a clown again. The trauma of that night had broken him, leaving him a shattered and haunted man. Even now, years later, the memory of that horrific night continues to torment me. The laughter and joy of my childhood have been forever tainted by the darkness that lurks in the shadows. The clown, once a symbol of happiness, has become a symbol of terror and despair. And so, I live with the knowledge that the true horror lies not in the painted smiles and outlandish antics, but in the darkness that can consume even the most innocent of hearts. My sister, Clara, always had an eerie obsession with clowns. From the moment she could toddle, she was captivated by their oversized shoes, painted smiles, and the way their laughter echoed like a hollow drum. Every birthday party, every school function, every single carnival that rolled into our city, the presence of a clown was a must. It wasn't the playful, whimsical kind of obsession. It was darker, more unsettling. While other kids would shy away from the painted faces, Clara would be drawn to them like a moth to a flame. She'd stare at them for hours, mimicking their exaggerated expressions, her own laughter a chilling echo of theirs. The fear started small, a gnawing unease in the pit of my stomach whenever Clara would disappear into the throng of carnival-goers, her laughter trailing behind her like a phantom's whispers. It wasn't until 2 years ago in Kenya, during a local festival, that the fear morphed into something tangible, something terrifyingly real. We were in the heart of the Masai Mara, the smell of dust and grilled meat mingling with the sounds of drumming and chanting. The festival was a vibrant spectacle, colorful clothes swirling, children giggling. But Clara was fixated on a group of clowns, their faces painted with grotesque, tribal masks, their laughter a jarring discord against the melodic music. I lost her in the crowd. It was the middle of the afternoon, the sun beating down mercilessly. I searched for her, calling her name, my voice swallowed by the cacophony. Hours passed, the festival lights flickered on, casting long, eerie shadows. I ran through the crowded marketplace, frantic, desperate. When the sun finally dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, I gave up. The Kenyan police found nothing. No trace of Clara. No leads, no clues. I returned to the U.S., a hollow shell of myself, the hope of ever seeing my sister again a flickering flame. For nearly a year, I lived in a haze of grief and guilt. I blamed myself, questioned my every decision, every moment I turned away from her, assuming she was fine. But a year later, as if rising from the grave, she reappeared. I was at work, the monotonous hum of the office a dull ache in my ears, when the phone rang. It was a stranger, a man with a thick, almost guttural accent. "Clara is here," he said. "She needs you." The next day, I found myself standing in front of a dingy, dilapidated carnival tent, the air thick with the smell of popcorn and sweat. A band played a jaunty tune, the notes distorted and out of sync, the laughter of the performers echoing like the laughter of a lunatic. Then I saw her. Clara stood on a small, rickety stage, Her painted clown makeup a grotesque parody of her former self, her smile a chilling, unnatural curve. Her eyes, once bright and mischievous, were cold, predatory. "It's so good to see you, sister," she said, her voice a hollow rasp. "Come, join me. We have so much to catch up on." Her words were sweet, but they carried a venomous sting, their sugary coating masking the bitter reality of the truth that began to uncoil within me. Clara's laughter echoed in the tent, a constant reminder of the nightmare I was trapped in. She performed with an unsettling intensity, her movements jerky and exaggerated, every gesture a chilling parody of joy. The audience, a collection of adults and children, seemed unfazed by her disturbing performance. I even noticed a few parents laughing at her jokes, their faces twisted into grotesque, almost animalistic smiles. One night, after the carnival was over, I followed Clara into the back of the tent. She was sitting in a dark corner, her clown makeup smudged and running, her painted smile a grotesque mask of sorrow. "Clara, what happened to you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Where have you been all this time?" She looked at me with those cold, predatory eyes, a flicker of something akin to sadness crossing her face. "I found my true calling, sister," she said, her voice a guttural rasp. "I discovered a world where laughter and joy are not just fleeting moments, but a way of life." Her words gave me chills. I knew the unsettling truth about her newfound calling, but I couldn't face it. I didn't want to believe the horrifying reality that was staring back at me. The following weeks were a blur. I followed Clara, a shadow in her wake, watching her as she performed night after night, her unsettling laughter echoing through the tent. I tried to understand her, to connect with the sister I once knew, but she was gone, replaced by a grotesque, twisted version of her former self. Then, the whispers started. At first, they were faint, barely audible, like the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze. But as the nights passed, they grew louder, more insistent. They spoke of missing children, of horrifying disappearances, of a sinister clown group preying on the innocent. I was hesitant at first, dismissing them as the ramblings of paranoid parents. But the whispers wouldn't go away. The fear, the suspicion, the gnawing dread that had been lurking in the back of my mind for months finally erupted. I couldn't deny it anymore. The truth was staring me in the face. My sister, my beloved Clara, was not the whimsical, playful girl I remembered. She was a monster, a predator, a puppet master in a macabre, twisted circus. One night I saw it. I saw the horrifying truth, the chilling reality of my sister's world. It was a dark, moonless night. I was following Clara, my heart hammering in my chest. We walked through the back alleys of the city, the air thick with the smell of decay and rot. We reached a dilapidated warehouse, the windows boarded up, the paint peeling. I saw children huddled in the shadows, their faces pale and drawn, their eyes filled with terror. I saw bloodstains on the floor, the stench of death and fear clinging to the air. I saw Clara, her painted smile a grotesque mockery of happiness, her laughter a chilling echo of the children's screams. She was leading them into the warehouse, her eyes glinting in the darkness, her movements predatory. I knew then what she was doing, what she had been doing all this time. She was not a clown, not a performer, not an entertainer. She was a monster, a predator, an embodiment of darkness. I stumbled back, my stomach churning, my head spinning. The reality of what I had witnessed slammed into me with the force of a physical blow. My sister, the person I loved, respected, and cared for, was a monster. The fear, the dread, the sickening realization of what I had become a part of, consumed me. I tried to run, to escape, to warn the authorities. But the warehouse was a vortex, the darkness swallowing me whole. I was trapped in a world where laughter was a weapon, joy was a facade, and innocence was a fleeting memory. I was trapped with my sister, the monster I had helped create. I was trapped in the carnival of horror. The fear gnawed at me, a constant, relentless presence in my life. I watched Clara, my heart sinking with every horrifying act she committed. Each night, the warehouse became a stage for a macabre, twisted performance. The children, their eyes filled with terror, were her audience, forced to participate in her macabre, twisted game. I saw the way she manipulated them, how she controlled them with her haunting laughter and her hypnotic movements, her painted smile a mask for the sinister intentions that lurked beneath the surface. I saw the way she fed on their fear, how she relished in their terror, her laughter a chilling, hollow echo of their screams. And I knew, with a sickening certainty, that there was no escape from this nightmare.